Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together live here on Facebook, 10:30 in the morning every single day. And we get together to exchange comments, topics, headlines, ideas, news, stories, anything that can help us have a better life here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English-speaking locals. It is always a pleasure to see you here. And if by chance this is your first visit rather, my name is Paco, and we'd love to hear if you're new, and you can let us know by writing the word new in your comments. And if you have specific questions that you want to address during the broadcast, all you have to do is add the letter Q, and we'll make sure to address your comment or question in a timely manner. And if we cannot do it live, we'll be happy to do it after the broadcast. As always, it's nice to see friends that we see on a regular basis. It's nice to see new people join us. I am starting to dive into The Crown. We've talked about The Crown, this wonderful series that Netflix has put together about, well, you know who. Oh, I'm using the wrong camera. Let me switch over. I like this camera better. That's much better. Okay, so let me take a quick look at who is here. Trucha Danzante says, good morning. Kelly is on the way to Puerto Vallarta. This is wonderful. Let's see. Yes, it is hump day. We have all kinds of humpy news today that I'm going to share with you this morning. Good morning from the gym while they're still open. I love it. Let's see. Yes, Michael, you're about to move down here, and it's going to be hot and humid in your new life in Puerto Vallarta. Absolutely. Although the weather is absolutely fantastic right now. Oh, Kelly is literally on the plane right now. Excellent. I hope your trip is really safe and that you make it here without any major incident. Let's see. Paco, you need to change the reminder times of your show. It says 11:30 rather than 10:30. So I'm not getting my reminder. That is very weird because I always write that the show is at 10:30. So, and I did so this morning. Otherwise, I would not have been able to start the broadcast. So I don't know how your system is configured, William, such that you're getting the time at the wrong time. Maybe your computer needs to be updated to the change of time that we had recently. Not sure. Let me see. Ooh, Elizabeth is ahead of me, so no spoilers, please. Let's see. Kathleen reacts to Te Recuerdo Amanda, this wonderful song that we talked about yesterday. I hope more of you got interested in the song or the documentary on Netflix, which is absolutely fantastic. Good morning, Elaine. It's great to see my friends here. It's great to see everyone here. So let's see. We are caught up with our news this morning, or rather our hellos this morning. Now we're going to talk about the news, and we're going to talk about COVID news. We're going to talk about General Cienfuegos, whose charges were dismissed in the United States. We're going to explain why. We're going to talk about all kinds of goodies. So we might as well get started with these headlines. And let's see, just finished season 4. Need to celebrate tonight with a swimming rama. As a matter of fact, Michael, Doña Pancha is going to make a reservation for 4 at one of your restaurants for this evening. She is going to be attending with some lovely friends. You'll hear more about this in a little while. So, boom, let's go to the news. Believe it or not, it was 8 months today that the first COVID patient died in Mexico. It's amazing to think that 8 months have gone by, that 2020 is about to end, and we are still going through this. Can you believe that we're still here? We're still here, and we're still here learning how to live our new life and learning how to brace the new normal. And I just thought I'd share this initial headline with you just to have a little bit of perspective. Um, I also want to let you know that, I must not have been the only person that was a little bit confused with how general the governor's announcements were early this week. I think his assistants or minions or staff or whatever you want to call them must have said, Mr. Governor, um, you did not make a lot of sense. So his staff put together this super cut edit of everything that he's mentioned recently. And it makes a little bit of more sense, but not much or a lot, depending on how you look at it. See, here's my interpretation. Before I show you the next website, I think the government realizes um, they're going to continue monitoring things, obviously. But the bottom line is we need to take responsibility for our actions. And we've known this all along. And we need to learn to look at our behavior to be no different than, when you get to cross the street, you look both ways before you cross, and then you decide whether you should cross or not. Our interaction with COVID doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Yes, there are specific guidelines in terms of what can open and what cannot, and how many people can enter a business and so forth and so on, or how many people cannot enter a business. But the bottom line is the guidelines are ours to accept and follow, but not to wait for the government to tell us what to do. That said, I want you to know that the government of Jalisco has put together this brand new page on their website that has all the new measures that you may want to hear about. Now, I'm not going to translate this whole website, but I'm going to go through a couple of interesting points as we move forward. Um, the basic indicators that are going to be used moving forward are the percentage of hospital occupation in the last 7 days, the percentage of serious hospitalization cases, cases that are in intensive care in the last 7 days. And these are going to be the basic guidelines. These are the basic indicators that the government's going to use moving forward. Complementary guidelines are the positivity rate, what percentage of people are testing to be positive for COVID-19, and the tendency in terms of how many active cases we have at any given time. So what's interesting is now the government is not going to measure these things for the whole state. They're going to measure it for all the municipalities. How they're going to deploy enough staff or resources to do this beats the beep out of me. I really couldn't tell you. But moving right along, aside from what I just told you, I'm going to repeat a little bit about what I said yesterday, or was it the day before? I keep losing track of this. The basic guideline for spaces and businesses is going to be 50% capacity, or one person for every 4 square meters inside, or one person for every 2 square meters outside. We already knew this. And here are the things that we know we're supposed to do. So this is not new. Face masks, social distancing, avoiding crowded spaces indoors, frequently washing our hands, and requesting immediate medical attention if we feel like we have symptoms. Meanwhile, the government is committing to doing more and more testing, permanent spreading and dissemination of sanitary guidelines. This program of citizens that are watch people, attention, medical attention, and health, mental health. This is what the government's going to do. And then there was this whole presentation that has a couple of interesting slides. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them because we've gone through this information one way or another. But because the government is now measuring things per municipality, here it is. For the first time, the strategy is going to be defined with criteria that relates to specific municipalities. And we start looking at some interesting figures from each one of the municipalities. For example, we get to see what municipalities have the highest number of accumulated cases and active cases and so forth and so on. Interestingly enough, as much as we worry about Puerto Vallarta, we don't have that many active cases in Puerto Vallarta. Now, this does not mean that we need to throw caution into the wind. This simply means that there are other municipalities that have more cases than we do. Then there's a chart that shows how many people have died per municipality and so forth and so on. So the bottom line about this, the way I interpret it, and this is, again, just my own interpretation, is that, and we talked about this last week, things may look grim in front of our eyes if we see something horrible happening in front of our eyes. But as a whole, Puerto Vallarta may not necessarily be in as bad a state, as a case or situation as other municipalities. So the bottom line is the government is counting on us citizens to do what we're supposed to do and not for us to wait for the government to tell us what to do. Now, the government has also been very clear. If they spot a business or a person or something or someone that is not acting or following the guidelines, the government has promised that drastic measures will be taken. So that sends a message to businesses that may be, bending their rules a little bit. And it also sends a message to us citizens as a whole. So let me stop for a second here and just take a quick look at your comments. I'm most concerned here that you may have some questions. Again, the guidelines have been not sketchy, but just have been pretty much the same guidelines that we've known all along. Let's see. Bim, padim, pam, pim, pam, pam. Aha. I don't see any cues. I don't see any cues. Is the pickle coming? Seriously, Michael, the pickle follows me wherever I go, and you know that. Yes, Doña Pancha and Anastasia Beaverhausen are going to be in the house, absolutely, with 2 other men. 4 men are going to have dinner at Siam. Suzanne, I love hearing from you because Suzanne is one of my musical buddies, and I am very happy that you enjoyed this. And yes, Victor Jara had such a tragic ending. And again, I can't recommend the Netflix documentary enough. It is absolutely wonderful and sad, but very important. The guidelines are there, but the importance of them was never stressed enough at the beginning to the general population. I appreciate that opinion, Chris, very much, and I think you are right. That said, and we've talked about this in the past, culturally speaking, I think the government has learned a very valuable lesson as to the difference between the government thinking we've done the right thing in terms of disseminating information and the actual habit that people have in terms of paying attention. I think there is a big disconnect there. And I think the government is learning about this and hopefully will learn to act more proactively moving forward. Let us not forget that everybody involved is learning how to go about this. Jaime is right in saying too many people have chosen not to be responsible. And thanks to those people, the government must continue to step in. Absolutely. I mean, that is a sad reality of this new reality that we have. As long as the number of irresponsible people is high enough, the number of cases is not going to decrease, and we may have to experience another emergency button or some similar measure in the future. Heather asks, what do I mean by watch people? The government announced a program of citizen whistleblowers. I don't know, I cannot think of a better way to describe this. But a few weeks ago, Heather, the government said, we simply don't have enough people to inspect what businesses are doing or are not doing. So the government has started or will start a program in which specifically designated citizens will have the ability to tell the government if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. These are free vigilantes, shall we say. And when the government announced this, some of the business chambers were the ones that were elected to have people that are parts of that chamber to whistleblow if somebody was not doing what they're supposed to be doing, which at the time, my comment was, well, how funny. If they select a whistleblower from the restaurant organization, will that whistleblower be responsible in talking about restaurants that are not following guidelines, or will this person just hide the reality? So that's what I mean by watch people. The government of Jalisco has not been very explicit or proactive as to how this would work, but that is what we know. That is what we know. Let's see. This is also very true, and I agree with you. Bottom line, as we know it, is it starts with ourselves. Heather Wilson has a question. Is that the question you were referring to? Again, I think I catch all the cues that I can. If I don't catch the cues, then I catch the cues when I look at your comments after the broadcast. La la di la li la la. Really, Sean? I don't know, but sometimes I wonder what we need or what we not need. I know that I'm preaching to the choir, Lucina, and I'm happy, I'm proud to preach to the choir, because that means to me that we have created a community here of people that are on a similar wavelength. And I'm happy to do that. You know, my job is not, or my mission has never been to preach to the big population. I'm grateful enough to have this community, and I hope that all of us here choose to lead by example, and that's the best we can do. Again, whistleblower is my own term. It's not a term being used by the government. It's something that I cannot think of a better term, a better translation at the moment. So I do not necessarily see things with the same optic as you do, Diane. It's simply that the government is asking for citizens to step in and help get things done. Let's see. I'm caught up with you. So let me get caught up with the headlines, because we have some more to share. Again, Hugo Lopez Gatell tells us that it is essential to seek medical help if you feel like you have symptoms as quickly as possible, preferably during the first 24 hours. If you have symptoms of COVID-19, you have to be, you have to seek help. And this is what betters your odds to having a mild case of coronavirus and not one of the really nasty kind. In other news, 10,000 fake COVID tests were secured in customs in Mexico, at the immigration office in Tijuana, Baja California. Strange to think that there might be people out there thinking about profiting with fake coronavirus vaccines, or tests rather, and this is exactly what happened. And how sad that is, and how good it is that they were caught. Moving into a little bit of local news, before we dive into local news, let us remember that we have several situations going on in the near future in Puerto Vallarta that could constitute potential super spreaders. We have Thanksgiving from the United States. There's going to be a lot of people celebrating at home and some people celebrating at restaurants. We also have the 12 days of pilgrimages that have been canceled, but nonetheless, there might be some people out there that want to do their own thing. And then we have the posadas, these traditional parties that precede Christmas, that are sometimes held at people's homes. Sometimes local businesses throw one for their employees as a way to thank them for a great year and to gift employees specific things. So let us take a look at what is going on in the city to prevent these things from happening, because none of this should be happening this year. For starters, the city is going to take very active steps against anyone trying to sell fireworks and use fireworks this year. As you know, when we celebrate the Virgin of Guadalupe, we celebrate with a bang, which is really unfortunate because it messes up our pets and it messes up our sleeping habits. So the city is going to take very important actions against the sale of fireworks during the holiday season. The city is also not going to allow any food vendors to take shop in the downtown area during the Guadalupana processions this year. They're not going to authorize anybody because nobody should be out and about getting involved in these processions. As far as personal Thanksgiving and restaurant Thanksgiving promotions, again, this is where we exercise our own common sense and we figure, okay, do we want to have a bunch of strangers at home? Yes or no. Do we want to have family members at home, but we don't know where they came from? Yes or no. Do we want to go to restaurants? Well, if we walk into the restaurant and we see that the restaurant's following guidelines, we go. But if they're not, we choose not to go. And that's just the bottom line as far as this is concerned. Because I'm moving out of the realm of coronavirus into other news, let me very quickly see if there's any other comments here that might be important. Let's see, we've gone through all of that. Neighborhood Watch is a nice way to look at it. Rita, thank you. Let's see. Question: can we take a break from talking about COVID every day? If people don't know about it by now, they will never know. Monday's numbers are informative, but daily preventative reminders are too much, in my opinion. How do you think? How do you feel about that? How much COVID do you want to hear about, community? I try not to overwhelm COVID-related information, but at the same time, you set the pace. If we are talking about COVID too much, please let me know. If you think we can talk about COVID more, or we should talk about COVID more, please let me know. And I'm happy to throw a poll together. I can do it now or I can do it tomorrow. In fact, let me very quickly divert my attention to see, are we discussing too much COVID? Should we discuss less? Let me set this up. Are we discussing too much COVID? The answer 1 is yes. The answer 2 is yes. And we're going to save this and we're going to publish it. So please tell me what you think, and we'll take a look at this as we move forward. Now, where was I? Because I lost my place in my comments. Here we go. Okay, so you take a quick look at that poll. Meanwhile, I'm going to go and continue forward with other news. Remember, we talked about former General Cienfuegos, who was busted in the United States. He was wanted for money laundering and drug trafficking and collaborating with the cartels. Well, his charges have been dismissed in the United States, and he's expected to be extradited and come to Mexico so that he can be charged here. I'm going to leave you with an English article so you can read this in English, and I'm going to add additional commentary that comes from El Universal. Apparently, what happened here, according to the Washington Post, is that Mexico said to the United States, well, we really want to charge him. We don't necessarily want you to charge him. We hope that you will return him to Mexico as quickly as possible. And if you do that, Mexico will not interfere with the Drug Enforcement Agency's operations in our country. So Mexico sent a subtle negotiation hint to the United States saying, you want to continue to be involved in Mexican cartel operations, then give us General Cienfuegos back. So General Cienfuegos is going to come back, and we'll see how he fares in his trials in Mexico. Something that I do get is that if the United States was so willing to relinquish him from his charges in the United States, there must be a sense of trust from the United States that the Mexican government will do what's right and not just let him go, as used to be the case when Mexico was more corrupt. In other news, as I mentioned a couple of days ago, the Senate is going to discuss the cannabis laws today, and the discussion will have to do with whether the Senate will approve the amount that you can legally carry without getting into trouble with the law, increasing that amount to 200 grams of pot. There are some people that oppose. There are some people that approve, and we will need to wait. We will wait to see what the decisions are about once they are published in the newspapers in the next few days. With that said and done, let's see. Let me take a quick look at the poll just to see what you decided. And the results speak for themselves. According to you, we are not discussing too much COVID. We will continue to then offer sensible information about COVID whenever important stuff is made available. And as always, I am happy to take your opinions into account because ultimately, what is most important to us here is to give you the news that are really important to you. With that said, let me move on to the weather and we'll take it from there. Don't you love how easily we can do things here at Coffee and Headlines to please you? I love polls and I love questionnaires and I love them because then they put us in touch with exactly what you're thinking. So it is with that reason that I'm going to implore on you to kindly take a look at the live entertainment survey that is out there. It is out there, and I'm going to give you the link once again today because we want to make sure that we give you what you want to hear. And the results have been coming in. We have close to 100 replies, and I think we are going to look at the replies at the end of the week just so we can get a sense as to how much you care about live performances here in town, what kind of shows you enjoy, what would make you attend more frequently, and so forth and so on. So now back to the weather. Bam, ba-dim, bam, boom. Weather forecast looks lovely today. It's 29 degrees. It feels like 30. It's 84 degrees Fahrenheit, but humidity is down to 50%. This is why it feels so wonderful out and about today. And the weather forecast tells us that, hold on just a second, I pushed the wrong button. The right button means that it's going to be clear through the day with a high of 33. Humid through the day tomorrow, Thursday, with a high of 33, and Friday also humid through the day. The nice thing about the weather forecast saying humid through the day nowadays is that humidity is not as high as it used to be. So now, do you remember this guy? Last time we saw this little guy, he was holding on for dear life as some Marines managed to rescue him from in Villahermosa because he was part of he was in the floods in Tabasco, and now he has been rescued by the Marines. He appears to be about 3 or 4 years of age, and he's going to be trained to become a rescue dog. He looks so happy and so much better than he looked when we saw that very sad video a few days ago. So this makes me very happy to share with you. Moving right along, we have also, speaking of Tabasco, we've been talking about how nice it would be to know where in town one can donate things so that we can help the state of Tabasco. And now we learned that the DEEF office, which is Mexico's Integral Family Development Department or association, has set up a post at Plaza Caracol and Casa Ley so that if you have any food or beverages or things that you want to donate to the people that are struggling in the state of Tabasco, you can do so at those points. That would be, again, Supermarket Ley and Plaza Caracol here in the hotel zone. This is amusing, interesting news. Apparently, somebody else has decided to toot their own horn for building stuff without permission. Now it turns out that somebody decided to build some kind of weird structure in their house in La Peñita de Jaltemba. The person by the name, it's a man from the United States named George Bernard Starkey. is building a dock for his own use and building a pool. And not only is he not is it building it on the beach, he's actually building it on top of the ocean. So the authorities have caught up with him, and we'll have to see whether he will be prosecuted or whether he obtained permits illegally when he was not supposed to obtain the permits. So we'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. The second from last. Oh, let me cough because this is going to make me laugh. The second from last item that I want to share with you is not a Coffee and Headlines viewer uh, bragging of his mani pedi. It's not a manicure, but it is somebody from our community got in touch with me with a little bit of distress. He said, I was out and about and I made a hand gesture that looks like this, and I got myself into trouble with my Mexican friends. Please tell me what happened. Well, even before we go to what happened, I have to wonder what possessed this particular individual to go like this to begin with, even before we explain how this is very dangerous to your well-being. It's like we don't know if he was girling at someone, or we don't know if he was showing up his mani pedi or what. But the bottom line, if you do what is known in Mexico as a caracolito, or a little seashell, if you go like this in Mexico, it's actually kind of like a sideways thing. If you go like this and then you go with enthusiasm, it's kind of like saying, go fuck yourself. So if you dislike someone, you can just go, take that, motherfucker. And yes, it is that insulting. And I said the MF word deliberately so that you understand that this gesture is not something that you want to fart around with in Mexico. We have other gestures that are more universal, like this, that is going to get you into trouble. We have auditory gestures, and we've gone through that before when we went through the knocking, that ta 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 ta, which means go fuck your mother. You don't want to do that. Something that is more regional and not as popular is if you go like this. It's like this is also kind of like go fuck your mother. So all these things are not very nice to do. So how this particular individual decided to go show his manicure is a mystery to me. So don't be showing off your manicures in Mexico unless you want somebody to beat the shit out of you, or otherwise start a very confrontational discussion. The end. This. I'm looking at your comments and your questions. This is too much fun. Let's see if we can address anything here that is important. Do we know what they named the future lifesaver? Honey and Mia have quite the crush on him. Well, I do know that the Secretary of the Marines decided to open it up for discussion, and I don't know, there must be a form somewhere online where you can suggest names. I don't know what a good name would be for that doggy. I'm just happy that that doggy found a new home. Nobody has claimed him. Nobody has come forth to say, hey, this is our dog. So good for the dog. Casa Bellavista says, I know that dock being built in La Peñita. Well, we count on you, Lynn, to be our whistleblower. We promise you won't get kidnapped or anything. Let's see. Well, thank you very much, Terry. This is something that, thank goodness, the government realizes the PR value of sharing feel-good stories like that. And I'm just grateful that it was headlined on at least 3 national newspapers. So, and I'm happy to share because I think we all need a balance of, important news and feel-good news. Um, oh my goodness, this is very good news. The Palm opens tomorrow, November 19th, with Misconception. This is fantastic. I understand from Misconception that they have put in some kind of retractable roof, as explained here by Lucina, and I hope that this will inspire confidence in people for attending these shows. I looked again at some of your results, your answers to the questionnaire for habits as far as going to live entertainment venues, and we still have quite a path to walk before we get to a place in which we feel comfortable as an audience. And again, I will share these results later on in the week. I want to make sure that we give enough time for as many people to answer as possible. Jorge as usual, is shocked and amused by my use of colorful metaphors. What can I say? We're sitting at my own living room, so I should be allowed to use colorful metaphors. um, what gesture means do you want to fuck? Now, what you have to do, Jorge, is take a photo of yourself. Be brave, because that's what I said to the viewer that sent me that hand gesture. I said to him, I will be glad to explain what this means, but you have to send me a photograph of what you did. So now the onus is on you, Jorge. You need to clarify to us which gesture also means do you want to fuck by taking a selfie and sending it for us. You see, you can be inspiration to us as well. Let's see what else. In other words, keep your hands in your pockets here. Well, you can grope people. Heather, I've groped you before, and you seem to get a lot of. You seem to giggle when I groped you, and you groped me too. We've humped each other. Don't deny it. um, the elbow thing means a lot of things, and none of them are good. So just don't do the elbow thing. Don't do the elbow thing. What else? Any updates on the hit and run bicycle death of Jim? I don't know that woman ever came forth. I don't know that the authorities ever found the car. But needless to say, the bicycle community is very attentive to this. They've done demonstrations and things like that, but there has not been any kind of closure on that situation. No, Jorge. No, don't give us the gesture confusion business. We want to see pictures. We want to see evidence. Otherwise, you will become part of the fake news. I love it. Chef says that he went to the Mojoneras market and saw a lot of people from Canada and the Americans buying things without masks. And you were surprised? I wouldn't be surprised. One of the things that I want to do this weekend is I want to walk to the the outdoor flea market that's near my house just to see how things are looking. But here's the interesting point, and do let me try to make a point here, if I may, mi querido chef. It's no longer about who's wearing masks or who's not wearing masks. It's no longer about talking about who's wearing masks or not wearing masks. Because if we spend a lot of time and energy saying, well, so-and-so was wearing a mask or so-and-so was not wearing a mask, that probably means that we're not spending enough time taking care of ourselves and doing what we're supposed to do. If you saw a lot of people that were not wearing masks, regardless of their nationality, then the important factor here, or the important conversation here is, do I stick around or do I not? And that's just my personal view, my personal suggestion. I mean, as a matter of fact, yesterday I was walking out to run some errands, and I walked past one of the restaurants that I recommended in the Versalles for Foodies map, and I saw that people were a little tight seated inside of the restaurant. And I thought to myself, well, wait a second, does that mean I remove them from the guide because they're seating people in a cozy way? And I thought, no, because people also need to learn. We need to learn to take that responsibility for ourselves, And that's just my 2 cents. And I'm going to get off my little stool and give you the final headline because I don't want to take too much of your time. And the final headline was, of course, this is really important. I love this article that I found at Huffington Post. And this is the worst things you can do while dining out during COVID, according to servers. And I'm going to go through each one of them because I think the article is absolutely worthwhile. You can read it in your show notes, but I thought this was right on point. Let's see. Number 1, acting like putting on a mask for a few minutes is the end of the world. It isn't. Number 2, coming into the restaurant to pick up their takeout without wearing a mask. Makes total sense. Number 3, seating yourselves. The restaurants have a seating strategy for a reason, so respect it. Number 4, not using an indoor voice inside the restaurant and spreading germs in the process. So Heather, we cannot go to restaurants anymore and laugh out loud like we used to because that is not using an inside voice. And I say that because I know that you laugh with a lot of enthusiasm, and for that matter, so do I. Number 5, Not tipping on carry out orders. That makes sense to me too. Everybody needs a little bit of extra help. Number 6, tipping poorly in general. Everybody pay attention. Number 7, complaining about menu items not being available. Be a sport if you're going to be at a restaurant, you know? And don't ask for people to change your order. If you'd rather have meat potatoes instead of French fries, don't add additional work if you can eat the darn thing. Number 8, asking servers to take off their masks for any reason at all. Usually, I'm not looking at servers' faces. I'm looking at other parts of their body, and I would like for them to take other things off. But I don't even ask for that because that's not being sporty. I just wish it in my inside voice. Number 9, wearing out your welcome after you've finished your meal. We don't sit around. We love to sit around in Mexico, but you're done with your meal. Just pay your bill and go somewhere else. The restaurants make a living from turning tables. This makes perfect sense. And number 10, complaining about the lack of, there's more than 10, complaining about the lack of condiments on the table. Well, it's not sanitary to just leave them there anymore, so you need to ask for them. Number 11, acting as if the health of the restaurant staff doesn't matter. It matters more than ours because they're out there working so that we don't have to be out working. Number 12, complaining about constantly evolving COVID rules because they change. Well, it's a constantly evolving situation. So that's the end of Coffee and Headlines. I love those guidelines because I think they are right on the money, and I think we should follow them. In fact, I may turn that into a video and give all the credit to Huffington Post because I love that. Love that, love that. Let's take a quick look at your final comments, and then we'll go on with our day. Is the hand gesture peace sign understood in Mexico? Would you like a photo? You mean like this? This is definitely understood as peace here in Mexico. Li, la, li, la, li, la, 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 la. Wash hands, of course. Thanks for the comment. My pleasure, Chef. And again, it's not, everything that I see around me, everything I read has more to do with us learning to live in this new place we call Earth, and less to do with our reaction to it. We're there. This is the new normal. And yes, I trust Huffington Post very much as a news source, which is why they show up in my news from time to time. I don't even have an outside voice. Oh, Pamela, mwah. We all have an outside voice. Let's see. I heard that the Los Altos market is very organized. I walked by and I thought it was very well put together. I didn't walk in, so we'll see when we get a chance to go take a look at it. And that's it. This was Coffee and Headlines for today. I hope it was informative. I hope it was thought-provoking. I hope I can speak for the rest of the day. I hope you had a good time. And if you had a good time, I will shamelessly remind you that this is a community-sponsored project. Again, we are here because you support us to be here. In that regard, keep these addresses in hand or spread the word about Coffee and Headlines. Let people know how much of a fun time you're having here if you are. And if you're not having a good time, don't tell anybody. I hope to see you soon. And between now and then, stay cautious, stay kind, stay calm, stay patient, stay safe, and take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Have a great day.